Governor Jared Polis announced this week that the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment will not intervene in the work dispute between DPS and the Denver Teachers Union. If the two sides do not come to terms this weekend, the union will proceed with a strike on Monday. DPS has announced its commitment to keep all schools open during a strike, except for some early childhood classes. Patty, did Governor Polis make the right call here?
I think he did early on. Let's see if they can still work this out. This doesn't mean he can't come in later if he has to, but we've got negotiations going on right as this show will air. They're going to be meeting again. They're fairly close on money, but we're beginning to see maybe this isn't so much about the money. To the people outside DPS and the union, the money sounds like teachers are doing fairly well. That's the blowback we get, like, oh, I wish I only had to work 9 months a year and I got this amount of money. But when you look at it, it really is the opportunity to reward certain people. It's the whole pro-comp issue, so that's going to come up. There are unintended consequences here. We reported this morning that because of those early childhood education classes, they'd be canceled on Monday. Now the state is allowing daycare centers to opt out of the state legislated limits on how many kids teachers can have. So all of a sudden you'll go from 10 toddlers in a daycare center to who knows how many. So there are unintended consequences here.
It's going to look like a limiting Snicket orphanage in some of these places. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Or us before the show starts.
That's true.
For bad behavior.
That kind of chaos. Krista, teachers unions did not back Jared Polis in the primary. They backed Kerry Kennedy. It wasn't as if Jared Polis was that far away from him, but he's been his own thinker on a variety of education issues. Do you think he's back in their good graces after this kind of a move?
I think it's likely why he made the decision not to intervene. I mean, he was not their first choice. He supports charter schools. In the past, he's supported vouchers. This is his way of saying, I'm your friend, I will not intervene, let the strike go forward if that's the way it goes. I think the sad thing here is that you've got kids that are not going to be able to get regular instruction. And after the government shutdown, do you think the public's a little tired of drama and impasses? They want to see compromise. Pro-comp is a good thing. It gets teachers into challenging schools and rewards them with bonuses. And teachers are pretty well compensated in the district. So I hope this is resolved today, but it may not be. A strike, though, may end up leaving a little egg on the face of the union.
Eric, it seems like the move by DPS bought them a couple weeks because the strike was going to start a couple weeks ago. The state had to take their time deciding, and then now the strike might happen on Monday. Does this decision by the state put DPS at a disadvantage in negotiations?
I don't know if it puts DPS at a disadvantage. I've thought for a while that the union really wants a strike here. I agree with Krista and Patty. I think this is about more than just money. I think whether it's for organization or morale or as a broader national statement, they want a strike. I don't think they want a long strike. We talked about this last week. I think public opinion may move against them as time goes on. To Patty's point, let's hope preschool teachers, maybe are equipped with some special brownies or something, because they may need it given the size of the numbers kids are going to be dealing with next week. DPS seems to, in many ways, have lost its mojo. Whether it was Michael Bennett, Tom Boasberg, there seemed to be a vision. You might buy into the vision, you might not buy into the vision, but there was a vision, there was a direction. The whole reform community seems to be at a time of some retrenchment. The more long-time establishment interests, which the union is first and foremost, seem to be ascendant here. I'm going to be curious where this all comes out. I don't think any of us, in whatever workplaces we're in, are in settings where your compensation is not, in some respect, based on your value, what you produce, your merit, if we say, but teachers who want desperately to be considered professionals and are some of the most important professionals in our society, but they have this union old age industrial model of we all ought to be paid the same, regardless of merit, regardless of what school we teach in, what subject we teach, how well we do our job. And I just think history is not on that side. It might prevail short term, can't prevail long term.
Natasha, how long can a strike go before the teachers would start losing public support?
Oh, if I had an answer to that question, I probably should be at the negotiations today.
Good point.
I think that will vary from individual to individual, and that will be based on their own personal circumstances. And in addition to that, the teachers who are going out without pay may have a limit to what they financially will be able to do. One of the things I found interesting in this conversation as I've been watching the news coverage is it really is taking up, sort of sucking all the oxygen up in the room. It needs to happen. Teacher compensation is a topic that we've been inching towards both nationally and locally for a long time. So I don't want to take away from that, but I'm also reminded of how many other conversations in the education realm are now being put on a back burner to deal with this larger question. So, DPS just went through the superintendent search. In anticipation of that, in the lead up to that, there were a lot of community conversations about different challenges in our education system. Everything from the education gap to how we teach, to what we teach. Last year I had the opportunity to do a story on the Keys decision in the period of mandatory busing in the Denver public schools, and the legacy of that still echoes today within our communities. And so as I'm watching all this, again, it's an important conversation to have, but knowing what we know with what Jared Polis has set as his agenda already, 2019 may be the year of education discussions, because this is going to continue whether the strike happens or not. We will continue to talk about how our kids are being taught, about the potential of the public education system, and how Denver can reach the best of that potential.